Écija, known in Roman times as Colonia Augusto Firma Astigi, was one of the greatest cities in Baetica and the capital of one of the 4 administrative conventus of the province. The splendor of ancient Astigi was linked to the export of locally produced olive oil and its convenient situation next to the river Genil. The traveller arrives in Astigi by following the Roman Baética Route from Carmo, modern-day Carmona. The 2 towns are separated by 34 Roman miles, or 52 kilometers. In the past, the journey from Carmo to Astigi took more than a day, and along the route, travellers would have stopped to rest at the mansion of Obucola, where the La Monclova castle stands today. With modern transport, the journey between Carmona and Écija can now be covered in just 40 minutes. Astigi was a key post on the Via Augusta. 2 milestones from this section of the road have survived, although their original situation is unknown. The history of Écija predates the Romans by a considerable period of time, and the first known stable human settlement in the area was established on the Cerro del Picadero in the 8th century BC. Before its refoundation by the Romans around the year 14 BC, Écija was a small settlement or oppidum, possibly the place called Astigi Vetus, mentioned by historian Plinius. During the early years of the new era, Augustus transformed the settlement into a colony, naming it Colonia Augusta Firmi Astigi. It became the administrative capital of more than a quarter of the territory of Baetica. These administrative changes led to the construction of a new city, which was enclosed by the building of a wall. At the time of the foundation of Astigi, this type of enclosure had a symbolic value which gave the city a Roman identity. The Via Augusta entered Écija through the western gate, near to where the Calle Juan Páez stands today. There it joined the Decumanus Maximum, which crossed a number of streets horizontally before reaching the eastern exit of the city. The road crossed the river Genil by a bridge, which has been traditionally believed to have been of Roman origin, but recent studies have revealed that the original road bridge was further north. The forum stood at the crossroads between the Decumanus Maximum and the Cardo Maximum, an area which is today partially occupied by the Plaza de España. The finest example of Astigi's splendor during the late imperial period was the Forum Square. This covered an area of something like 20,000 square meters, approximately 2.5% of the part of the city which was inside the walls. Most of the city's public buildings were located in the Forum. These included a complex for the worshipping of the cult of the emperor, which has been unearthed, and other constructions which have not yet been excavated, like the basilica. We are in Écija, Spain Square, where the last stage of a long campaign of archaeological excavations that have been carried out over the past few years is being completed. In Spain Square, we have been able to document 2 clearly defined areas. The closest to us would be the domestic area, where we have been able to excavate up to 5 domus, 5 Roman houses and 2 main city roads, 2 cardins. In the section further away from us, we have been able to excavate public structures, which we identify as part of an imperial cult precinct. We have specifically excavated a large 25 by 7 meter pond, and part of what was the base of an imperial cult temple would be. Amongst the most interesting findings we have been fortunate to find in this area, we can highlight the wounded Amazon, exhibited in the local museum.
Entre los hallazgos más interesantes que hemos tenido la suerte de hacer en esa zona, pues se puede destacar la amazona herida, que está expuesta en el museo de la localidad. Uno de los 5 ejemplos que se han conservado de este modelo de estatua que formaría parte del programa iconográfico que decoraría el recinto de culto.
The Wounded Amazon, a 2-meter-high sculpture which was a Roman copy of a Greek model, was found in one of the square's pools along with remains of other constructions and sculptures, destroyed some time during the process of Christianization of the empire. The wounded Amazon survived almost intact, possibly because it was carefully placed inside the pool by someone who wanted to prevent its destruction. Thanks to this, even fragments of its original red paint are still visible. Astigi's history is well documented, thanks to the numerous excavations which have been carried out in the city. This archaeological activity has unearthed a number of important mosaics. These have given us an insight into the colony's thriving economy and are now known the world over. Mosaics were the result of a paving technique by which small pieces of different materials or tassels of different colors were fitted together over a layer of mortar, creating a design with geometrical or abstract patterns. The first step was to manufacture the tassels and prepare the cementation. Then a stencil with the design of the mosaic was used as a model to draw the outline. Finally, the tassels were laid and leveled by tapping them with a wooden hammer. In his book De Architectura, Roman architect Vitruvius offers a number of tips on constructing mosaics which could be walked on. It is necessary to prepare the ground, and we start by checking whether the whole area is solid. It is then levelled and covered with the first layer of riprap. But if there are areas with loose earth, these should be carefully levelled and compressed.
Será menester afirmarlo y apisonarlo cuidadosamente.
Astigi was the best producer of mosaics in Hispania, both in terms of quality and quantity. Technically speaking, their most notable feature was their colour and the glass tassels which gave them a distinctive lustre and character. Écija's History Museum exhibits a collection of mosaics depicting the god Bacchus, titled Gift of Wine, Bacchus's Triumph, or the seasons of the year. The money to pay for the mosaics came from local aristocratic families who, thanks to the production and export of oil, led a prosperous and stable life. This is one of the Roman potteries on the Genil River bank, called Sinuilis by the Romans. The entire Genil River from Écija to its mouth to the Guadalquivir, 30 kilometers away, has a succession of Roman buildings where amphoras were made, filled up with oil and sent via riverboats to the port of Seville, the Roman Hispalis, where ocean-going vessels would load them and take them to all parts of the empire. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the Visigoths made efforts to maintain Écija's supremacy in the region and established the episcopal seat in the city. With the Islamic occupation, the city was nicknamed Madinat al-Qutun, the city of cotton, in reference to the new crop introduced by the conquerors. Astigi was the first city of Hispania taken by the Arabs. From there, the invading army marched on Cordoba, Mérida and Toledo. Écija was an important provincial capital during Cordoba's emirate and caliphal period. The wall which is still standing in Écija dates from the Almohad period between the 12th and 13th centuries. In 1240, Fernando III conquered the city and its land was distributed amongst the new colonists, several religious orders and the church. Écija's golden age was in the 18th century, during the Baroque period when the concentration of capital in the city, the development of industry and the revival of the agricultural sector led to a construction boom. However, the 19th century led to a period of decline. The Spanish Civil War also precipitated a crisis in the local economy, which lasted until the 1970s. The rich and eventful history of Écija is summarized in the Municipal History Museum, which is housed in the Benamejí Palace. A good number of the monumental elements and of the sculpture and inscription remains were located in a large pond, from which it is now thought to belong to the decoration of a Roman temple which was nearby. Amongst the findings we can see a considerable amount of imported sculpture elements. It is a sculpture set copying Greek models. The city's main attractions include a series of manorial houses, as well as numerous churches, such as those of Santa Maria and Santa Cruz, and convents. The bell tower of the Church of San Gil affords magnificent views of the city's historic centre and its most striking feature, the large number of towers which are the essential elements of the city's identity. In addition to its excellent confectionery products, the local cuisine includes specialities such as a soup known as sopa de gato, a spinach dish, a pot of wild asparagus and salmorejo. Coinciding with the local feria, which is held in September, the city plays host to a series of equestrian events which last for a month and attracts many visitors and horse lovers. Outside the city, in the Campiña, there are a number of famous stud farms which are open for pre-arranged visits. Today, Écija maintains the strategic position of which the Romans took full advantage. Thanks to its main route of communication, the E5 dual carriageway, the journey to Cordoba can be made in only 40 minutes, and it takes approximately 1 hour to get to Seville. Écija was designated a site of historic and artistic interest in 1966. It is called the City of the Sun for the monumentality of its streets and the towers that seem to reach up to the sky. With the splendor of its past, Roman and Baroque Écija shines once again for the delight of travelers on the Roman Baética Route.